We got this image from a comment on Facebook, so we thought we'd do a short demonstration video on how to work with images like this. First we need to tell the program which colors to trace. We start by selecting the background color to the far left and tell it that it's gray by clicking in the image with the color picker. Then we select the next box and tell it to trace it in an orange color. When we click Process, you can see all the colors that will be traced in the image. We want to trace the whole letters in one color, therefore we use the Bucket Fill tool to fill in the white areas with orange. Make sure that all white spots are gone. When all letters have the correct color, we will use the masking tool to exclude all the areas that we don't want to trace. Click Create Vectors when only the area that you want to trace is visible. Usually in Graphic Tracer, you start working with the texts, if there are any. Select a couple of letters that are straight in front of the camera if you are vectorizing a photo. The part of the logo that is straight in front of the camera is usually less distorted than the other parts. Click Identify Font and Replace. When you've done this, you click Next. Here you enter the characters of the text. Each letter has to be correctly entered for the program to be able to identify the font. Click Next again to perform the font search. When the search is done, Graphic Tracer will tell you the name of the font and create a list with fonts with the best match in the top. You can see that Graphic Tracer found a perfect match, but we don't own it. If you own the font will be listed in green. This time we will do a Google search for the font name and see if there are any sites where we can download or purchase the font. Now go to the Tools menu and select Add a font. When you've done this, select the font that you recently downloaded and click Open. The font will now be added to the Quick Add Fonts list in Graphic Tracer, and you can use these to replace text that you vectorize. However, this time we will not replace the text. Instead, we will exit the font identification mode and select the whole word, since we want to replace the whole word at the same time to get a straight text. When the text is selected, click Identify Font and Replace again. Then click Next and make sure that all the characters are correct. Instead of clicking Next or Last Search, we will this time drop down the font lists and click Quick Add Fonts. Here you will find the newly added font and you can select it and directly click Replace to get perfect text in your logo. Then we will do the same thing with the first flame text in the image. Select the text and click Identify Font and Replace. Click Next and make sure all characters are correct, and then click Font Lists and select Quick Add Fonts again. Select the font that you identified. This time we need to move the characters so that they don't intersect. Just select the characters and you can nudge them with the arrow keys or move them with the mouse. When the characters are separated, you can click Replace to get the perfect text here also. Now we move on to the texts at the top. We select the first word, Fireplaces, and click Identify Font and Replace. Then we click Next and check that the letters are correct, and click Next to do a font search. When the search is ready, you can see that the perfect match wasn't found. This can be due to that the text has been stretched or compressed, or that it's distorted from being on a photo. We will make a new font search, but this time we will have the try stretching option checked, and also the replaceable only. That means it will only search for the fonts that you own. It looks like a common font, and I guess that we probably own it. As you can see, Arial Black was a perfect match, so we just need to click Replace to make perfect text. Now let's move on to the next text. When I click Identify Font and Replace, I can see that I got a couple of extra objects. I just press Shift and deselect those before proceeding to the next step. The letters look correct, but instead of clicking Next to do a search, we click the last search and replace with the same font as the last one. Now we proceed to the last text and replace it the same way. There are a few unwanted objects in the image. We simply click them and hit delete to remove them from the work area. Then we click Replace Objects and use the Convert to Rectangle tool to get the perfect rectangle surrounding the text. Under Adjust Shapes, you will find a tool for creating rounded corners on objects. Simply set the radius of the corner and then click the corners to create identical rounded corners. To recreate the flames in the image, we will draw a rectangle through the text, representing the lower half of the letters. Adjust the height of the rectangle to fit the flames in the background. And then add a few extra nodes where it's needed, if you need to change the height of the flames in certain letters. Then select both the bottom shape and the text, and click Apply for Intersect in the Shaping menu. This will create one object in the bottom of every letter. Now convert the intersecting line to a curve and add nodes and move them to represent the flames in the image. You can convert to sharp corners by double-clicking smooth nodes and the other way around. When you have done this for all letters, you will have an original looking like this. The last thing we will do is to convert the two round black spots into perfect circles with the Convert into a Circle tool. The original is now ready to be used for any purpose.